My name's Adisa. I write and perform poetry. I call my poetry verbalism, and I call myself the verbalizer. Today I'm at the Museum of London to look at some crochet that links to my family heritage. Come follow me. Wow, that is really beautiful. The colours are so vibrant. This is a beautiful doily made of the crochet technique. Now it's really touching to me because it reminds me of my family and my mother and the house I grew up in Luton. Why? Because my house was covered from head to toe in doilies. My mother came from the island of Montserrat and my father came from another island called St. Vincent. And so my mother was like a storyteller. She always wrapped up her stories with a wise proverb. And those proverbs stay with me for life. And my father loved music. So the house was flooded with music at all times. And so the doily just takes me straight back to that home and socialising, family coming round to the space. Mama always told me, son, walk the streets with your head held high. You have no limitation. If you want to, you can fly. Success does not come to those who sit down and wait. If you don't knock, no one will open the gate. And Mama told me, put God first in everything you do. Believe in yourself and your dreams must come true. Some will try to hold you down. You never regret your skin is brown. She told me, the road of life is rough and oh so long. When you fall down, pick yourself up and just carry on. Respect your elders so your days will be long. And when you have children of your own, sing to them this song. And she said, put a little by for a rainy day. Remember my son, what you sow shall be your pay. It's a time to work and a time to play. Bend the tree while it's young, so when it's older it won't go astray. So you never miss the water till the well run dry. And just because it's a man, it does not mean you cannot cry. I later found out that many Caribbean families had these doilies in their houses. But it wasn't just the doilies. There were other things like the souvenir map that every family had to have, where you came from, the island. There were things like this gramophone that played music really loud. But it was interesting because it was all about having this special room, the front room. My mum always believed that someone important would visit the house, so have the front room pristine. I think the pristine front room was more than just a room. It was a metaphor. No matter where you came from in the Caribbean and coming to the UK, you were instantly put as working class. And you could have come as professional. But the idea that front room represented, I have a standard, I have culture, I have taste, I have class about me, was coming through the design and the expression of the front room. It's like a Caribbean sun. And I think what's interesting, crocheting is a very European thing. And in Europe, doilies were normally cream or white, quite simple colours. But yet in the Caribbean, they have taken it and put their own Caribbean flecks on it. And now you've got these vibrant reds and these really warm blues. People don't think beyond these creations of doilies and what the history is behind them. Now, doilies were brought into the Caribbean by missionaries. This found its way into the education system. And the idea was that doilies and making things with your hands like seamstress was pushed towards the so-called working class. And so my mother was encouraged to do that because they thought that people like my mother would go into a vocational profession. When you think about the patois spoken in the Caribbean, you take on the African original language, you mix that with the European language and you create your own tongue, your own kind of dialect. And we've done the same with the doilies. I always knew there was more to my existence than just my British culture. Going to school, I was one of the few black boys in the school, but when I came home, I was instantly just wrapped around in Caribbean culture. Fusion is a key word because it means that a young person can say, well, this is who I am, but this is what I'm connected to. And I can have the best of both worlds in my language, in my dress, in my expression, in my music. And that makes, in a way, a kind of new identity. What I'd like young people to take away from today's discussion around doilies is that, are there things in your space that link to your past? Are there things that are a fusion of cultures, like we talked about the mix of the different African and European language and the mixture of the doilies being European, becoming Africanized? Look around your space, your home. Are there things that connect you to other cultures? And try to find out the history behind them. So it can give you a deeper grounding of who you are and how you fit in this jigsaw called the world. In the classroom of life, do not be afraid to ask the question, why? There's no such thing as failure as long as you make up your mind if you try. Instead, a child who does not heed the words of their mother will have to drink lime, pepper juice and salt. You will not be judged by your words, but by the content of your heart.